A very good evening to you. Thank you for staying with TV3. This is News 360 live from our studio here at Adesewe Kanda in Accra. I am Martin Esiedu-Date.
And I am Grace Hamwa Ajuman. Coming up this evening.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal.
EcoBank.
Former Maslog boss Sedina Tamaklo Ationu extradited to Ghana from U.S. to serve a 10-year sentence for financial crimes.
Also coming up, President John Mahama directs the anti-flood task force to clear waterways and remove structures as torrential rains continue to cause widespread flooding.
In the Ashanti region tonight, Komfanoche Doctors Association suspend industrial action after Otumfuo-led intervention.
Later in business, government targets 50% LPG access by 2030 as the NPA and Energy Ministry intensify push for clean cooking and expanded energy infrastructure.
On the international front, U.S. Space Agency NASA names the 4 astronauts who will blast off as part of the Artemis 3 mission in 2027, the next step for humans to return to the moon. We have details of these and more in the next 60 minutes. Stay with us.
And we sure many of you have been following the big news today, which has to do with the extradition of Ghanaian national in the U.S., Sedina Ationu, who is currently in the jurisdiction. And after years of trial, conviction in absentia, and extradition proceedings, Madam Sedina Tamaklo Ationu, the case that she is involved in, has moved from the courtroom to enforcement. Her return to Ghana now shifts attention to how the state will execute her 10-year sentence, recover lost public funds, and send a stronger signal in the fight against corruption. Noble Crosby Annan has more in this report.
For years, the name Sedina Tamaklo Ationu has been tied to one of Ghana's most high-profile corruption prosecutions. Now, the former Maslog Chief Executive Officer is back in Ghana not to continue her trial, but to serve a sentence already handed down by the Accra High Court. She arrived at the Accra International Airport on Tuesday, June 9, aboard United Airlines flight UA 996 after departing from the United States. Officials of the Ghana Police Service and the Ghana Prison Service are said to have taken her into custody with the necessary administrative, security and medical processes underway before she formally begins serving her sentence. On April 16, 2019, Sedina Tamaklo and Daniel Axim, a former chief operating officer of Maslog, were charged by the Attorney General. The two were accused of misappropriating public funds during Sedina's tenure as Maslog Chief Executive Officer between 2013 and 2016. The funds were meant to support Maslog operations, small businesses, loan beneficiaries, and vulnerable groups. But prosecutors said they were diverted, misapplied, or not properly accounted for. In 2021, Sedina Tamaklo was granted permission by the High Court to travel abroad for medical reasons. But she did not return to Ghana to continue the trial. That decision became a major turning point in the case because the court later proceeded to try her in absentia. Her co-accused, Daniel Axim, remained in Ghana and participated in the proceedings. On April 16, 2024, the Accra High Court convicted Sedina Tamaklo Ationu on multiple counts, including causing financial loss to the state, stealing, conspiracy to steal, money laundering, and breaches of the Public Procurement Act. She was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment with hard labor. Daniel Axim was also convicted and sentenced to 5 years imprisonment in hard labor. The court held that the offenses caused the state a financial loss of about 90 million cedis. Among the transactions cited were funds meant for a sensitization exercise for Maslog beneficiaries, money linked to support for victims of a market fire disaster, and procurement deals involving vehicles and mobile phones, which the court found had been inflated. After the conviction, Ghana began the process to bring Sedina Tamaklo Ationu back home to serve a sentence. In July 2024, the Attorney General submitted a formal extradition request to the United States. This moved the case from a domestic corruption trial into an international legal process involving Ghanaian authorities, United States law enforcement agencies, and the U.S. courts. On January 6, 2026, U.S. Marshals arrested Sedina Tamaklo Ationu in Nevada. She was detained while the extradition proceedings continued. That arrest confirmed that Ghana's request had moved beyond diplomatic paperwork into enforcement action. On April 12, 2026, a United States District Court in Nevada certified Ghana's request for Sedina Tamaklo Ationu's extradition. The court found that the extradition treaty between Ghana and the United States was valid and enforceable. The court then committed her into the custody of the United States Marshal Service, pending the final surrender process. Now, on June 9, 2026, Sedina Tamaklo Ationu arrived in Ghana. According to the United States Embassy in Ghana, her extradition relates to a conviction on more than 70 corruption-related charges involving the embezzlement of more than $6 million equivalent in Ghanaian taxpayer funds. The embassy says the extradition reflects the strong law enforcement partnership between Ghana and the United States. It also says this is the first transfer of a fugitive from the United States to Ghana since 2009. For Ghana, this case is bigger than the return of one former public official. It raises questions about accountability. What remains now is a formal transfer into custody of the Ghana Prison Service, any legal steps the lawyers may take, and the wider issue of asset recovery. Noble Crosby-Annan, TV3 News, Accra.
Well, meanwhile, former Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuah-Yeboah, who was one of the lead counsels when it came to initiating the extradition process, has been speaking to 3FM's Hot Edition about the latest development.
I was happy when I heard that she had been brought to Ghana, all because the whole process was started during the time that as a Deputy Attorney General and the official also are part of this matter, but in time in prosecuting the matter. And so after securing the conviction and the sentence, the expectation was for her to come and serve the sentence. And so when I heard that she had been brought back to Ghana, I said, fine, that's how justice then works. Because she's been convicted and sentenced by the court, there should be a warrant committing her to prison. And so being a woman is under our law, she's supposed to undergo medical examination to see whether she's pregnant. If she isn't pregnant, she must commence a sentence immediately. There's no option to go home or go to any other place to the prison. When Madam Sedina was convicted in April 2024, we immediately initiated processes to get her extradited to Ghana. In view of that, we submitted all the requisite documents that we're supposed to submit. And then somewhere in August 2024, we were notified by our partners in the U.S. that they had been able to identify where she was living, and that she has been placed under the requisite alert notices. And so we knew where she was, and we knew that the U.S. was monitoring. So when we left office in January 2025, because of our expectation that the U.S. government to continue with the process, it's better late than never. The law says she can appeal, but that is not as of right now, because the time for appeal has long elapsed. If lawyers know what to do, if they're able to do what they are supposed to do and they go through it, and she's pursuing the appeal in court, she must pursue the appeal from the prison, because she's now a convict prisoner and must be in prison to pursue her.
Let's go to the Ashanti region tonight because the Konfanoche Doctors Association, CADA, has announced the suspension of its industrial action with effect from today, 9th June 2026. The decision follows what the association described as fruitful engagement and the intervention of His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei II, alongside the hospital board, management and other key stakeholders who worked to address the concerns that triggered the strike. CADA said it remains committed to ensuring that the issues are fully resolved, but emphasized that it carefully considered the impacts of the prolonged action on patient care and public health. The association expressed appreciation to all doctors and health workers for their support, reaffirming its commitment to continued dialogue until the outstanding issues are resolved.
Let's go to some other stories now. As the rainy season intensifies, familiar challenges are re-emerging on roads across parts of the capital, Accra. Waterlogged stretches, deteriorating road surfaces and inadequate drainage are making daily commuting difficult for many residents and motorists. Safwa Buahine visited some of the affected areas and has come through with his report.
The rains have returned, and with them, a familiar frustration for many road users across Accra. I am standing at Dansoman Junction, just some few blocks away from Hansonic Road. And you can see behind me is a waterlogged potholes. Frustrations keep turning in and out as drivers and commuters use this particular road, telling the team that it is something that has been going on for so many years every time it rains.
From pothole-ridden roads to waterlogged stretches and overflowing drains, commuters say moving from one point to another is becoming increasingly difficult. At first light in Kanishi, sections of the road are dotted with potholes, forcing motorists to slow down and carefully navigate their way through traffic. But it is at places like the Dansoman Junction where the effects of the rains appear even more pronounced.
They do in Sutobria, say any first light, and also say by say Dakuma Junction, and also say.
Whenever it rains, this is what we go through. We are appealing to the government to fix the roads properly because they become damaged almost every time it rains. For traders and residents who use these roads daily, the deteriorating conditions are more than an inconvenience. And for drivers, the cost is often measured in repairs.
The rains leave the road in this condition because the drains overflow. Our vehicles keep getting damaged, so the road must be fixed.
Concerns over poor drainage are also emerging as a major part of the problem.
We are desilting the drains, but the authorities need to improve them because the drainage system is the main cause of these problems whenever it rains.
At Dakoman Kukompe, drains choked with waste and silt were seen overflowing from recent rains, spilling water onto nearby roads and making movement difficult for both motorists and pedestrians. The Member of Parliament for Ablekuma North constituency, Rabna Orban, says the challenges facing road users stem from broader drainage and infrastructure issues.
For about 6 consecutive times, we have tried to desilt, dredge, fill potholes in order to ease the traffic situation, the flooding situation, and to make it more motorable for road users and commuters. Personally, I have engaged the ministers and ministries involved in order to find some long-lasting solutions. The Minister for Works and Housing is going to come around this week, hopefully, and he's going to have first-hand information as to what we are saddled with in the constituency.
I am at Kaswa Old Barrier, Atala, which is ordinarily a free-flowing dual carriageway, but due to the rains, it has become a much narrower route for motorists, and large deposits of sand and mud has been washed onto sections of the road by recent rains, which have left drivers with limited space to maneuver.
Nearby, personnel were seen clearing portions of the accumulated sand to improve access. Upon interaction with the team, they identified themselves as officials of the Gas South Municipal Assembly. One of the personnel, Engineer Gabriel, noted that the exercise is aimed at restoring easier movement to ease the traffic situation. For road users, the rains may be seasonal, but the challenges have become all too familiar. Residents say they are looking beyond temporary fixes, hoping for solutions capable of keeping their roads passable long after the rains have stopped. Safa Boyne, TV3 News, Accra.
It's interesting how you see pools in the middle of roads now. Fortunately or unfortunately, the situation seems to be getting out of hand, where flooding in people's homes is now moving to the streets and roads. Well, in a related development, President John Dramani Mahama has directed government's anti-flood task force to be firm and decisive in dealing with the issue of flood in the capital. Speaking shortly after arriving from a state visit to Belarus, the president urged citizens to rally support for government as they work towards solving the perennial flooding challenge.
And so we need to address this issue of flooding. People have built in waterways. I spoke about it just before I left. I mean, the sites, the wetlands that absorb the water before releasing them into the Atlantic Ocean are being constricted because people are filling and building and then reducing the volume of water it can contain. If that happens, then if it can't contain that volume of water, then it backs up and it floods everybody's house. And so when the Greater Accra Regional Minister and her team go and they are demolishing houses built in the wetlands, people say government is inhumane, you know, but it's also partly the fault of those who sell those lands. Those lands are not supposed to be sold. And then also partly the fault of our assemblies and the officers who grant the permits. If anybody brings a house that you know is in a restricted area, which is a waterway, it's not supposed to be sold. And so you should not sign the permit for them to build. But some of the houses have building permits. How did they get them? You know, so we have to do some soul searching. And I think government must be firm in doing what it has to do in order that we stop this perennial flood issue. We shouldn't be like the vulture who says he will repair his roof when the rain stops. When the rain stops, then we forget about it. The vulture forgets until the next rain comes, and he promises again to repair the roof. This time, if we repair the roof, we have to really work and repair it.
Let's do some other stories tonight. Between 2023 and 2026, Ghana recorded more than 20 major boat and canoe accidents, resulting in nearly 80 deaths. Many of these tragedies occurred on the Volta Lake and other inland waterways, with investigations repeatedly pointing to overloading, the absence of life jackets and poor safety enforcement as major causes. In response, the Ministry of Transport and the Ghana Maritime Authority have deployed 200 trained water safety guards to enforce safety regulations at key inland water transport routes across the country.
The Volta Lake, rivers and estuaries serve as a lifeline for thousands of communities. For many residents, especially those living along the Volta Basin, water transport remains the fastest and in some cases, the only means of accessing schools, healthcare, markets and economic opportunities. Most of the vessels used are wooden artisanal boats, often carrying passengers and goods over long distances. Although Ghana has more than 125 inland water transport entry points, the majority of maritime safety operations are concentrated on the Volta Lake, Africa's largest man-made lake. The creation of the Volta Lake in 1965 transformed transportation patterns and livelihoods for communities along the basin. Over the years, boat accidents have become a disturbing feature of life on the lake, raising concerns about safety standards and regulatory compliance in many inlands and lakeside communities. Investigations by the Ghana Maritime Authority have revealed that overloading and the non-wearing of life jackets are major causes of river accidents. To reverse the trend, the Ministry of Transport and the Ghana Maritime Authority have rolled out a national water safety guard program. The initiative has seen the deployment of 200 trained water safety guards to strategic inland and water transport points across the country. Dr. Kamaldeen Ali is the Director General of the Ghana Maritime Authority.
For far too long, our inland waterways has been a source of anxiety with accidents that are otherwise preventable largely. As a regulatory body, the Ghana Maritime Authority is changing this narrative, recognizing that true safety of our people is paramount, and that if we do that, we are able to ensure the total development of this country.
The Minister for Transport, Joseph Bukari Nikpe, charged the officers to remain firm in enforcing the regulations.
I will want to, on behalf of His Excellency, charge you that you ensure that you enforce this directive. No life jacket, no travel on our water bodies. I believe that this initiative will be carried out by the regulator, and so we will soon get a year that will not record unnecessary deaths whilst our people perform their daily duties of crossing from one point to another.
We're shifting our attention to some other stories now, and constant development along waterways at SCC and Azuma in the Wejagbawe municipality has left several homes flooded following days of rainfall. Some residents have been confined to their homes after being trapped by flood waters. Here's a report by Stanley Niblu.
Prolonged rains on Tuesday, June 9, exposed an already exacerbated fragile ecosystem, where affected residents were just about heaving a sigh of relief from the effects of the excess water spillage from the Weja Dam, were struck again by spontaneous downpour. A visit to the community Tuesday morning reveals a disturbing sight. Water courses and available marshy lands have been filled and developed. Some builds, including this one, have been constructed in the belly of a waterway, forcing water to rush into nearby homes. At Azuma, also within the enclave, strips of laterite and sand have been heaped on a marshy ground, pending recession of prevailing floodwaters to fill the land for development. Residents are reeling under this situation. Currently, many homes have been flooded. In this vicinity, for instance, a landlord has channeled floodwaters directly to his neighbor's house, flooding it completely. Some residents trapped for days. This family tells me that water level has even receded before the news team's arrival. With a bucket and a cup, they spent the whole time scooping water constantly from their bedroom. But beyond the flood situation, the existence of improper drainage channels and the non-availability of same in some localities have contributed to the messy situation in the Wejagbawe municipality. Where gutters are available, they are too narrow, unable to contain runoff that flows through them, thereby overflowing and deluging homes. Previous downpour tumbled down walls, destroyed open drains, and now eroding foundation of buildings. Residents are concerned about the human-induced flooding.
Dam na chekwa kakra o. Na nso se nso atoyi, awura manfo bebrede ma momoto afirifi o. Omu nyina anko single room we wode obie ne wotim. Nso ne the window level. Ba matna more than 11 years. Me hu say bi da.
Stephen Yeboah desealed gutters after the day's rain.
I had nso no to dey higher pa. Efi opo abase etumbo we gate na se na akofie ho ina. Because of gata na omon year nti. Nso no se gata na yama na push back up. I have the entumi nkobi me to say ewure efiafie.
As contaminated water continued to find its way into homes, with each downpour, public health concerns should remain a priority for state institutions. Addressing the flood situation in Weja and SCC will require a multifaceted approach, including urgent spatial planning measures to restore and expand drainage systems that serve as critical arteries for the smooth discharge of stormwater from the city. Stanley Niblew, TV3 News, Accra.
In more news, the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, has launched a new national cultural policy describing culture as a key driver of national development. She touts the policy as one that will help preserve the country's rich cultural heritage and promote growth of the creative industries.
The National Cultural Policy is a revised version of the 2004 policy. According to organizers, the new policy marks an important step towards using culture as a tool for sustainable development and economic transformation. The policy outlines strategies to improve access to financing for creative entrepreneurs, establish creative arts infrastructure, integrate cultural products into trade agreements, and strengthen cultural tourism. The Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Abla Jifa Gumashi, said the policy is a result of years of extensive consultations.
To the youth, use your digital skills to amplify Ghana's voice, creating content that makes us proud. Do not let modern cultures from elsewhere identify your identity. Do not let the unfettered appreciation for other people's cultures define who you are. To the academia, continue to research and document. Your work provides policymakers with the evidence needed to make informed decisions.
Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman called on Ghanaians to embrace cultural diversity, promote local languages, and use technology, including artificial intelligence, to preserve and showcase Ghanaian culture.
Culture is not only about celebration, but also about justice, dignity, and healing. It compels us to confront the painful legacies of slavery and colonialism and recognize that our history is inseparable from our identity and our future. The inscription of high life music on international heritage registers recognizes the profound global influence and ensures its preservation.
She further announced that the country's film industry will benefit from a film development fund which has already received seed funding to support filmmakers and other creative professionals.
You're watching News 360 on TV3. We have business, sports, entertainment. After this break, don't go away.
I love President Charcoal. Why?
When there are so many other charcoal toothpaste.
That's both charcoal and
4 points by Sheraton Accra Airport Hotel.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. Now, government says it is stepping up efforts to increase the use of liquefied petroleum gas LPG across the country with a target of ensuring that at least half of Ghanaians have access to LPG by 2030. Authorities believe increased private sector investment in storage and transportation infrastructure alongside ongoing policy interventions will help accelerate the country's transition to cleaner cooking fuels.
Chief Executive of the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, Godwin Edujitamaklo, investments in new LPG vessels and storage facilities, coupled with the implementation of the cylinder recirculation model, will strengthen the downstream petroleum sector and improve access to clean cooking fuel. He adds that the NPA remains committed to ensuring the safe regulation, monitoring and distribution of petroleum products across the country.
Over the course of the rest of the year, NPA, in collaboration with stakeholders, will undertake a series of activities, including nationwide public education campaigns. One of the major complaints had to do with the LPG transporters, complaining about constant harassment by security agencies, particularly in the Western Corridor. So we had to go and engage the Western security commanders, particularly the police leadership, on how best to help resolve that constant harassment.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Energy and Green Transition, Dr. John Jinapor, says Ghana's LPG penetration rate has risen to about 43%, but says millions of Ghanaians still rely on traditional cooking fuels, highlighting the need for sustained investment and policy support to expand access nationwide.
Compared to other countries in Sub-Saharan Africa, we are doing quite well, but there is still room for improvement. And even more importantly, how we can promote domestic LPG production. For me, that is even more important. And with our refineries coming up, I'm working with the MPA so that we can focus more on producing adequate LPG to meet our domestic demand. If we do that, we save a lot of foreign exchange, we create jobs, but more importantly, we save lives.
Meanwhile, Executive Director at the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, SEMSE, Benjamin Nsia, is calling on government to introduce targeted incentive packages for investors to boost liquefied petroleum gas LPG penetration across underserved areas in Ghana.
We think that to be able to increase the penetration, there could be some form of subsidy for rural LPG users, especially households with lower income. They may need to have some subsidies, and incentives must also be provided to investors and business persons who may want to put out cylinder exchange points and other LPG refilling plants across on access areas or areas that do not have LPG infrastructure. I think that is so critical for us to be able to penetrate properly. And lastly, at SEMSE, we also think that LPG needs more promotion. There's lack of awareness of its importance, and the lack of knowledge among certain populations in Ghana is the reason people continue to use wood fuel or other bio-related fuel that do have health and environmental impact.
Let's bring you updates now from the currency and the commodities market. And that'll be all for the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. Up next, the sports.
In a world full of noise, clarity matters. Stories shape us, ideas challenge us. An honest dialogue moves us forward. This is a space for depth, where voices are heard and perspectives matter. Conversations with Dr. Abnanya Kwasmini, coming soon on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
Around us is changing, not slowly, not quietly. In the north, the rains that once arrived on time don't come anymore. In the middle belt, rivers and forests disappearing overnight. Along the coast, the sea is swallowing land that families have called home for generations. Rising temperatures, failed harvests, homes lost to tides. This is not a warning about tomorrow. This is the world right now. TV3 and the German Embassy in Ghana. The conversation on climate security implications in Ghana. The Climate Talks 2026. 5 cities, 5 conversations, 1 urgent call to action. Tamale, Bolgatanga, Kumasi, Keta, Accra. Starting this June 2026. The climate talks are coming, and this time, the people most affected by Ghana's climate security crisis will be at the center of it all. Because the time for Ghana to act is now. In a world full of noise, clarity matters. Stories shape us, ideas challenge us. An honest dialogue moves us forward. This is a space for depth, where voices are heard and perspectives matter. Conversations with Dr. Abnanya Kwasmini, coming soon on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
Around us is changing, not slowly, not quietly. In the north, the rains that once arrived on time don't come anymore. In the middle belt, rivers and forests disappearing overnight. Along the coast, the sea is swallowing land that families have called home for generations. Rising temperatures, failed harvests, homes lost to tides. This is not a warning about tomorrow. This is the world right now. TV3 and the German Embassy in Ghana, the conversation on climate security implications in Ghana. The Climate Talks 2026. 5 cities, 5 conversations, 1 urgent call to action. Tamale, Bolgatanga, Kumasi, Keta, Accra, starting this June 2026. The climate talks are coming, and this time, the people most affected by Ghana's climate security crisis will be at the center of it all. Because the time...
So, insecticide spray and quad.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360 with me, Oreku Ampofo. President of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana, Kwabena Yeboah, has cautioned Ghanaians against placing the Black Stars 2026 FIFA World Cup host solely on head coach Carlos Queiroz. Speaking in an exclusive interview with 3 Sports, Yeboah argued that a team's success at the World Cup depends on the quality of players available and not just the tactical ability of the coach.
I was really, really surprised when I don't know how people see coaches, whether they are magicians. I can't get it.
You've always had this debate.
I've always said that is not to say coaches don't play a role. I mean, coaches play a role. There's no question about that. But I think we tend to exaggerate it. Yeah. So Carlos Queiroz comes, and what do? At the airport, as if he's the one who was going to score the goal. The whole national anthem is played. I need to be corrected, but I don't remember the last time a coach arrived in the country where the national anthem was played.
Yeah, this was grand.
This was grand. It's all because of the expectation from him. And so the national anthem is played, and he's been given a title. It's Cerebral Marquesi, Carlos. And you should know that if you see the euphoria, the ecstasy, the razzmatazz, you know, everybody believes that whether we're going to go deep in the tournament or not will depend on Carlos Queiroz. That is not the way I look at it. If you look at it? If you're assessing teams, I think it's important to look at your team. If people think that it is Carlos Queiroz who's going to ensure our deep run in the tournament, well, he's been in the World Cup before with Iran. I mean, they didn't exceed the group stage. Not because he was such a bad coach. Because Iran did not have the materials. You know, it's as simple as that.
Well, we still stay on the World Cup, where Omar Artan, who was set to become the first Somali to referee at the World Cup finals, has been dropped from the list of officials after he was denied entry to the United States. Artan, the 2025 Confederation of African Football Men's Referee of the Year, was barred from entering the country at Miami International Airport and is currently in Turkey. Artan had been selected as one of the 52 referees for the global showpiece co-hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. However, his participation at the tournament suffered a major setback after being denied entry into the United States, ruling him out of the Mundial, which is set to start on Thursday, June 11 to 26. His absence is a significant setback for both Somalia and African refereeing representation at the FIFA World Cup. Well, we still stay on the World Cup, and Algeria captain Riyad Mahrez has expressed confidence in his outfit's preparations for the World Cup, stressing the side is in good form to compete at the tournament. Speaking ahead of the Desert Foxes' highly anticipated Group J opening match against Lionel Messi's defending champions Argentina, the 35-year-old winger emphasized the team is focusing on one game at a time rather than getting swept up in a narrative hype.
But we're here to try to do something to make proud our family and our countries. So that's the most important for us. Well, it'll be a good game. It'll be a good game, but we take it as any game, and we are focused as the same. So we will see. We have still a week to prepare. We will see, but we're ready.
Remember that the World Cup is in 48 hours time, where it officially kicks off when Mexico face South Africa, and we are your home for the World Cup. You can get updates on our social media platforms at 3sports.th.
In a world full of noise, clarity matters. Stories shape us, ideas challenge us. An honest dialogue moves us forward. This is a space for depth, where voices are heard and perspectives matter. Conversations with Dr. Abnanya Kwasmeni, coming soon on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
Around us is changing, not slowly, not quietly. In the north, the rains that once arrived on time don't come anymore. In the middle belt, rivers and forests disappearing overnight. Along the coast, the sea is swallowing land that families have called home for generations. Rising temperatures, failed harvests, homes lost to tides. This is not a warning about tomorrow. This is the world right now. TV3 and the German Embassy in Ghana. The conversation on climate security implications in Ghana. The Climate Talks 2026. 5 cities, 5 conversations, 1 urgent call to action. Tamale, Bolgatanga, Kumasi, Keta, Accra. Starting this June 2026. The climate talks are coming, and this time, the people most affected by Ghana's climate security crisis will be at the center of it all. Because the time for Ghana to act is now. In a world full of noise, clarity matters. Stories shape us, ideas challenge us. An honest dialogue moves us.
Lifestyled.
And Napa Foods, Heaven Black Insecticide Spray and Coil.
Powered by 3 Entertainment.
Good evening and welcome to the entertainment news segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko. Now, the 2026 Korea Festival has officially been opened in Accra. The event kicked off with screenings of 2 acclaimed Korean films and forms part of a broader program designed to showcase Korean culture to Ghanaian audiences and as part of efforts to promote cultural exchange and strengthen diplomatic relations between Ghana and Korea.
The 2026 Korea Story Festival has opened in Ghana with screening of 2 acclaimed Korean films, A Taxi Driver and The Face Reader. Movie enthusiasts thronged the Silverbird Cinema to enjoy the films and gain a deeper appreciation of Korean storytelling and culture. Officials from the Korean embassy said the festival forms part of efforts to strengthen cultural ties between Ghana and Korea, while offering Ghanaians the opportunity to experience Korean film, music, and traditions.
We didn't expect this is much, popular, but they came, then we expected actually. So we are so much excited, and I can feel, a lot of, people, they ask me to expand more opportunities for them to experience, to enjoy the Korean culture and movies. So maybe next year is our 5th, anniversary to tie the 2 countries. So we are gonna plan to give them more opportunities.
The embassy further announced a series of activities aimed at deepening relations between the 2 countries. These include Korea Week, featuring a K-pop contest, a Korean speech competition, and several other cultural events scheduled for the coming month. Patrons who watched the films shared some of the key lessons and values they took away from the stories.
And the Face Reader had the talent of being able to read people. They could tell the character of people using facial features. And also the movie shows that you don't really have to trust anyone, because in the end, the Face Reader's son got killed. That is just to ignite some interest. So those who didn't watch it, I'm sorry, but it was interesting.
Even though we are here in Ghana, we get to experience a different culture without having to actually leave. Yeah, and we get to learn from other people as well.
And on to some more stories. A Ghanaian chef is drawing national attention after completing an ambitious cooking marathon aimed not only at breaking records, but also inspiring young women from Zongo communities. And after 8 days of non-stop cooking and serving over 300 traditional dishes, Chef Inshra Zulea has officially ended her Guinness World Records cooking marathon attempt.
At exactly 6 p.m. on Monday, Chef Inshiraba Zulaiha brought her 8-day longest cooking marathon attempt to a close after preparing more than 330 Ghanaian different cuisines and delicacies. The atmosphere at the Medina Astroturf venue was electric as the event attracted food enthusiasts, supporters, and curious onlookers from various Zongo communities, including Nima, Mamobi, Medina, and surrounding areas. For many, the opportunity to witness one of their own undertake such a remarkable challenge was a moment of immense pride and celebration. But for Chef Inshiraba, the challenge was about more than setting a record. Beyond the recognition and potential Guinness World Records plaque, she says her mission is to change perceptions about Zongo girls and inspire them to pursue their dreams without limitations.
There is a deeper vision and then a deeper message, especially me coming from the Zongo community as a Zongo young girl. We all know, let's be honest, we know that story behind the Zongo woman that, let's say, excuse me to say, Zongos cannot have the best for themselves. Zongo cannot do great things, and I know I'm here to change the story, inshallah.
With the successful completion of the 8-day cooking marathon, Chef Inshiraba and her team are hopeful of setting a new world record.
And we're definitely wishing her all the best. But that's it for the Entertainment News segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko.
Well, on the international front tonight, NASA has named the 4 astronauts who will blast off as part of the Artemis 3 mission in 2027, the next steps for humans to return to the moon. The astronauts are Andre Douglas, mission specialist Frank Rubio, mission specialist Luca Pamitano, pilot, and Randy Bresnik, commander. The crew will launch into Earth orbit next year from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida aboard the Orion spacecraft atop of the Space Launch System rockets. Well, I know Martin is excited about this because he's been following Artemis 1, Artemis 2, and now there's Artemis
3. So probably Artemis 4, I'll be on board.
Yes.
That's it for our package. Thank you very much for watching. I am Martin Asiedu Dati.
And I'm Grace Hamwajiman. Thank you. Good evening.